Right, a very warm welcome. Thank you very much for joining us. We're getting into the last half an hour of our conversation here, and the local government elections are on the horizon, and we've been unpacking some of the issues and the challenges and also the successes of our municipalities and our local governments to date, and we'd like to continue to get your reflections as well as those of our audience here. But I'm now joined by the Chief Executive Officer at the at SALGA, the South African Local Government Association, Mr. Xolile. George, thank you very much for joining us. And this is a very busy time for you, particularly with your organization looking at local government and municipalities in general. And I'm just wondering, at this time, what are the big issues that are on your table?
Well, good morning, Peter, and good morning to all the viewers at home. I won't repeat what the ministers have covered in terms of local government successes. I think the key issues is how do we learn for the last 15 years in terms of progress achieved by local government, and also take stock of the fair share of challenges that at the time of shaping the new system of local government, perhaps from a policy point of view, we did not envisage that they would come up in the manner in which they have come. So it means we have got a good stock of reference for the last 15 years. What we need to do now as the most immediate focus is to ready local government for the transition post the 4th democratic elections taking place on the 3rd. And that implies the role to be played by organized local government, working collaboratively with Cooperative to deal with the leadership echelon of municipalities at a political level. The second part will be dealing with the municipalities in terms of how they should be ready to deal with the requirements of ensuring that come elections, once the results are announced, then immediately the electoral calendars of local municipalities, district municipalities, metropolitan municipality kicks in. So SALGA, what it has done, has prepared what we call a governance transition plan of supporting municipalities to navigate that transition. That speaks to the readiness of a municipality on day one, because come the transition, there is no mayor, there is no speaker, there's only a municipal manager. So how do we assist a municipality that does have an acting municipal manager or an administrator or an existing to deal with those issues that day? So that speaks to that. And secondly, to also look at the outcomes of the elections, especially on the list of councilors that will be coming in. What will be the proportion of councilors that are new in the sector, completely new, and those who are returning? And we hope we have a number of returning councillors, so that our work on helping them to understand the environment is much more easier. So we will be taking them through the orientation program in terms of councillors, and also taking them through what we call portfolio-based training program, review all of the rules of council, readiness for day one programs, and so on and so on. So we are ready for the post-election program, and we have been helping municipalities to deal with the pre and the during to make sure that the outgoing councillors, municipal managers, they are able to prepare a report for a new speaker, prepare a report for the new mayor and the new executive, and so on. So all of them have got guidelines, including improving the rules of order in council, so that we are able to have a strong mechanism of ensuring there will be less disruptions in the affairs of running municipalities going forward. So I'm saying we're quite ready for the transition. The second aspect is about building resilient municipalities. I think we have seen a lot of reports that speaks to the performance of local government, and also areas that from a policy, from a regulatory point of view, perhaps we underestimated the enormity of the task at hand. So one of the key issues going forward will be to take exploits of the new industrial, digital industrialization that is coming up strongly, how to modernize systems of governance, and how to improve revenue collection at municipalities, and how to be robust within council on oversight, so that issues of performance, issues of accountability are dealt with decisively. So SALGA has established what we call a Center for Leadership in Governance to look at 3 pillars: reflection pillar, sharing pillar, and also a pillar that will speak to building leadership in terms of what we call thought leadership, to have new leaders that will come to local government to make sure that we can have a mechanism of sharing on how to tackle the complex issues that face municipalities. But so far we think that building resilient municipalities will be one of the key art that we need going forward.
Okay. All right, so you've mentioned a few things, building resilient municipalities, and that means having the right people in the right job. I think Deputy Minister Andries, you've mentioned that as well. Minister, what we're seeing, and this, I haven't seen this before, is this scramble to be on that councillor list. Are political parties behaving? I mean, we're seeing people kill each other, literally, to get on these lists. And in the end, actually, what it really should be about is making sure the right people are there that are going to deliver. But there does seem to be a political overtone beyond service. Rather, it's about positions and getting a job or getting a salary.
You know, Peter, maybe I should start by confessing that local government, I mean, with all my experience in the sector, is not a child's play. You don't come in there expecting that, either as a ward councillor or as a PR councillor, you don't come in there and expecting that, I mean, it's a smooth sail. I mean, saving our people is one of the difficult tasks that one was ever exposed to. So I will urge political parties really to invest a lot in their candidate. To invest a lot in which sense? Let's make sure that we get the right people to lead our people. Because the business of leading our people required skilled people, required well-capacitated people. I mean, just leading a ward constituency, it takes a lot. You know, who stays in who stays in that ward? You find academia, you find all these stakeholders. So obviously, if you just feel the candidate out of driven by this negative tendency of popularism, definitely you will end up having wrong candidates to lead our people. You know, I used to term some of, we used to joke during the days when I was still a councillor. I had time to joke then because I was still young. We used to call some of ourselves or councillor ngiyazi, you know.
I know.
Decisions are taken in a municipal council. We expect a councillor as a public representative to take those decisions and articulate those decisions to his or her constituency. Now, if the councillor goes to a constituency and can't interpret those decisions, then what is the role of the councillor? There's no link between her constituency and the municipality. Hence, to a certain extent, I must underline that we have the spate of some of these service delivery protests. The link that should be there between the municipal council and the people, it's not there. It's non-existent because the councillor can't interpret a mere single resolution of a council. He or she can't. That's a reality that we are living with, and that's why I'm urging political parties to take this matter serious. Whom do we deploy to be a councillor should not be treated as a by-the-way exercise. It's a serious business. Okay. Our community deserves better.
All right. Okay. So let's hope that the parties have got it right. Deputy Minister Bapela, I just want to, again, the role of traditional leaders. I mean, they were the original local governments. They were the real deal. But it seems that their power is diminishing as time passes. We talk about transitions, we talk about new ways of doing things, and it seems that their role is becoming more and more ceremonial. Is that what's happening?
Well, indeed, their powers have been per agreement, by the way. We didn't accept them. It was per negotiations that the functions that they used to run are now going to be run through a government system, which is a democratic government system. They will be playing a complementary role. They will also be playing a cooperative role because they still own the land. And I think there's a case, the MEC for Free State is Mayor Oli Mlambi. Mangaung is no longer able to grow westward because of the N1 freeway. So the only land available is eastwards. And as they approach eastwards after Bapela is a traditional land. And there has been a logjam between the government of Free State, the municipality, Mangaung, and the community, so development can take place. So therefore, those cooperative models, we ought then to begin to elevate, engage, and have a consensus with traditional leaders on how traditional land is going to be used for development of its own people, because they are their people, and that needs to benefit from the democracy. There's a road that can proceed in Limpopo, because traditional leader there said, no, this road won't pass here. So the road ends, and then that land where the road's supposed to pass, they cannot move. ESCOM has been complaining too that they can't put power lines across the traditional land, because the traditional leader says, I don't want them here, we have not spoken to me. So that cooperative model, we really ought to engage and then talk, but they are also participating as representatives of their people in the municipality. And whether they are happy with it or not is something else that we are discussing. Indeed, they are not happy with the functioning of the mere representation. They want some kind of a model of participation that has certain functions that they can also articulate and do as traditional leader. And I kept saying to them, don't want to be service providers now, because I wouldn't want masses to march to you as a traditional leader. So therefore, we ought to be careful what you want in the powers and functions of traditional leaders. But we have a summit in November, very soon, where we're going to be putting these matters 22 years after, within our own democracy, the role of traditional leaders going forward. Urbanization is not only in the big cities, it's also in the small cities. It's happening within the rural areas. Malls have been built all over. And then when the mall comes in, that the pattern of rural living and then traditional community living changes, an urbanization element then grows in the area. So those are the complexities where we then find that traditional leaders can no longer be able to control. And then because people say, no, it's my freedom, and indeed they'll quote the constitution. And vis-a-vis traditional leaders, there are areas where they agree. We ought really to harmonize those particular issues and find a model that can work. We'll look at other countries like Ghana, where they have got a very best model of coexistence of traditional leaders and then governance, and then indeed playing a particular role, not just only ceremonial.
Okay. So, Deputy Minister is a politician, so his speech will always have a certain flavor. But what I would like to hear, he talks about cooperation, coexistence. Do we have a traditional leader here? Do we have a couple of traditional leaders? Can we please, okay, can we get a microphone to you? And I want you to put on your leader's hat. Leave the politicians to do their thing. I want to hear your view and your thoughts about this space that we're getting into. As I said, you were the original local government. How do you feel now in the space that we're moving into? Is it cooperative? Is it coexistence? Is it partnership? If you could just stand up, sorry, and so that the camera can pick you up, and if you could introduce yourself to the people of South Africa.
Thank you. Kosimo Ubani, the chairperson of the National House of Traditional Leaders.
Put the microphone close to you, man.
As alluded by the Deputy Minister, we are engaging. I wouldn't like to open a can of worms, whether we are happy with the present scenario or what. But what is important is that the government is...
Microphone closer to your mouth.
What is important is that there's a willingness from the government to engage traditional leaders. But the most important thing is it's not about a traditional leader as an individual. It is about traditional council, the relationship between traditional council and the municipal council. That is what is important. So the table is there for us to engage further after elections.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Very diplomatically put, as a leader would do. Yes. All right. Let's go to table 5, where we'll find Muketa Duma. Okay. There we go, Mr. Duma. Microphone? All right, they're going to get another microphone to you. There we go.
No, a very good morning to you, Peter, and the panelists. Mine goes to the Honorable Minister. Minister, we're aware that in terms of Section 13 of the Structures Act, you have gazetted and determined the number of councillors throughout the country. And subsequent to that, MECs also use their 10% threshold. We have a situation, and I'm sure my question will further translate into a plea after I have asked it. We have a situation in Mangaung Ward 50 where after the election, we would see one ward councillor servicing a radius of about 150 kilometers. And in our own view, that is not actually consistent to the very first pillar of back to basics, of putting people first and their concern first. We know that Naledi has been established, and it used to comprise of 3 towns. Now, if we were to include Mangaung, it means this councillor will have to service 4 towns, which includes Mangaung, and I don't think that will be possible for one councillor to service the 4 towns. So is there a way of trying to perhaps reconsider whether there's a provision within the Act that can be reconsidered, but it's just a plea that can't we just consider allocating perhaps 1 councillor per town so that the very first pillar of back to basics can be realized?
Okay, so more ward councillors. Right, okay. Table number 14, we'll find Jacob Mashishi. Is that correct? Table number 14. Okay, there's a microphone next to you.
Thank you.
If you could be quick with your question, we're running out of time.
I thought I wrote my question can be read there, but overall I wanted to understand whether we are ready for local government elections as a country, broadly.
Okay.
The second one was about the transition, so that on the back to basics, we don't lose that momentum. Thanks.
Okay, and then Magabe David is on table 15, right next to you. Table 15, Magabe David.
Well, thank you very much. My question was more on institutional. It is related to, I'm sure as a district, we had almost 3 years without appointing the CFO. Due to the requirement.
Okay, so it's appointments.
Yeah, of 7 years.
Filling positions.
7 years experience, 5 years at the middle management level, 2 years at senior management level, a BCom degree in accounting and honors. So we've always been advertising and without the success. Thanks.
Wow. Okay. All right. Okay. So here's the thing. We're closing now. We're running out of time. So what I'd like to do is to ask you for your final thoughts as we incorporate some of the issues that have been raised by our last 3 questions. So let me start with you, Mr. Xolile George, and then finish with Minister. So these are your final thoughts, but please address some of the issues there, and you've got about a minute and a bit each. Let's start with you, Mr. George.
Thank you very much, Peter. I think 3 key issues that I wanted to raise as my final reflection is on strengthening leadership and governance at local government. If there's one thing that we have learned over the last 5 years, last 15 years, is a need for us to strengthen that arm of the relationship in the municipality. We think that if we invest more on that, we're likely to have more resilient municipalities, more capable municipalities. Secondly, we need to build in our conversation an intelligence, data-driven conversation. And so far, we have been able to see the reports of States SA, reports of Auditor General, reports of National Treasury, and there is a number of other reports, most recently the Gauteng one. States SA is releasing financial census data today. So armed with all of this data intelligence, I think it's going to help us to have better and robust governance oversight at municipality. The second issue is around consequence and accountability.
Unfortunately, we're going to have to leave it there, but you've got a minute and I'm watching the clock.
Thank you very much for this very important conversation.
Yes, we are ready for local government elections. Yes, we are ready to transition into a new administration for those municipalities to hit the ground running, for COGTA to continue supporting municipalities through the Back to Basics program, putting people first, ensuring basic service delivery, build sound financial management, good governance, and building strong institutions. All of that relates to Mr. Mugabe's question as well around the CFO position. What we've done in terms of that pillar of building strong institutions is to set minimum standards for senior managers in municipalities to make sure that they have the requisite experience and skills to serve in those municipalities. Of course, we know that there are challenges in certain municipalities in applying those criteria, but we are working with those municipalities and with National Treasury in that regard.
He's stolen 20 seconds of your time, so you've got 40.
No, thank you very much. I just want really to say, post the local government elections, the systems are ready to run. And we hope, therefore, that there will be a greater cooperation between traditional leaders and those new councillors that are coming, the mayors that are coming, to work out on a model of cooperation and development going forward. And indeed, those who are in the big cities and the towns, urbanization, yes, it's here and is a reality, but the ruralization of your cities is also taking place, where people are now no longer going back home to go and practice their own traditions. They do it here in the cities, and as we see that routing, and Johannesburg in particular, have got a lot of illegal schools of initiations running in our city, and we don't have a plan to then integrate it into the city model and development. Thank you.
And your final thoughts in a minute?
I hope we're going to give that effect. Yes, Peter, very quickly, I think let me take these two questions. The one on the big ward. The Act is very, very clear. If it's not about, of course, the redetermining the boundary of the ward, there is a provision for us to work with the municipal or the affected ward, to take care of those challenges. The situation might be very, very different in Northern Cape with vast wards there. So we will have to deal with these issues as beyond the elections. But also, taking into consideration the fact that I've cited earlier of different environmental capacities of municipalities, some municipalities are unable to lay the required skills as determined by our own standards. So there is a provision in the law, for the municipality to apply to the office that I'm currently leading for an exemption. So on the basis of the merits of the case, we'll definitely have to agree or disagree on an exemption. But on the last issue, Peter, I'm calling upon on all South Africans, more especially our political parties, to make it their responsibility also for the country to have free and fair elections. It's not only the responsibility of the IEC and the government or other stakeholders, it's the responsibility of all of us. So they must ensure that as they canvass for elections, they do that ethically and responsibly. Fantastic. And I'm urging our citizens that please, let's show your citizenry activism. Go and vote on the 3rd of August. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much indeed. The Minister of Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs, the Honourable Desmond Rooyen, the Honourable Obed Bapela, Deputy Minister of COGTA, Honourable Andries, Deputy Minister of COGTA, and the CEO of SALGA, Mr. Xolile George. Thank you very much indeed, gentlemen. Thank you very much indeed. Also, not forgetting Ms. Jane Tupano, who's the Chair, Municipal Demarcation Board. To you at home and the audience here, have a great day, everybody, and don't forget August 3, go and vote. Goodbye, everybody.